opinion, I think the Leafs are going to win that series, and I don't usually don't
Wow.
pick the Leafs.
Wow. This is huge.
Wow. There's a development.
I usually don't pick them, but
Dave, is
I
that
think
you?
Hi, and welcome to the show. This episode, we talk about the Leafs core and how modern athletes seem to be built differently than what we're used to. We also discuss the Pittsburgh Penguins as they now find themselves in a dogfight for a wildcard spot with Florida. And lastly, we chat about the slumping Tampa Bay Lightning as they readied themselves for a rematch with the beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. Do the Leafs core have what it takes to win the Cup, or will it be recently acquired veterans that will lead this team in the postseason? Is Pittsburgh going to make the playoffs, or is this current management team doomed and the team is destined for a new direction? Is Tampa Bay just taking it easy, or has this team hit a wall with the amount of hockey they've played for the past 3 seasons? We're back and ready to share our views and opinions for anybody that wants to listen. So please, take a load off, relax, and welcome to Hockey for Fanatics.
Could I get a go Leafs go?
Are they playing? Are they winning?
Go Leafs, go, baby.
They got to beat Florida, so that's a good thing for Giancarlo and me.
And me.
So
I'll cheer against Florida.
why
For sure.
you?
Yeah.
Oh
Well, because
yeah,
the better
worse they
the
do,
worse
the
they
better.
do, the
Yeah,
better the pick. Yeah.
that's true.
Triple whammy. Fuck,
Yeah.
go Leafs.
There you go. Everyone's cheering for the Leafs tonight. There's a new one.
I love it.
All
Did
right.
they start already, or is it starting now?
Yeah, 1-0 good guys.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, Austin Matthews. They always start off strong. They get a goal and then they go to sleep.
Yeah, they've been playing
They,
well, man. I mean, they got smoked against the Islanders, but you have to
they
throw it
haven't
away.
been playing since the trade deadline. They've been playing pretty terrible.
Really? I thought they've been
Oh
winning.
yeah. Well, it's very inconsistent, right? Like they do well against Carolina. They played well, and then they stink up the joint against Buffalo. Like it's just so leafy, right? Like they'll have a couple of good games here and there, and then they'll completely just not show up certain games, and
Well,
it's the usual.
we know though we know that the measuring stick is no longer the regular season, so they're just coasting to the end. It's like, what good is it? Like,
Yeah,
they wouldn't get any credit if they were playing lights out. I guarantee you that. Like, if they
no,
were
but
dominating, people would be like, whatever. Show me in April, right?
that's not true. Like what it is they always say the process, the this, the that. If you're playing a certain way, loosey goosey defensively, and starting to like just give up tons of chances and stuff, it doesn't lead well to what you're going to do in the playoffs. Like there isn't this magic button that you could press and all of a
Well,
sudden
yeah.
everyone just decides to
It's
play,
true.
you
Sometimes you
know?
find those games though, like during the regular season. I don't know if you guys have had any games like this, but aren't there any games where they used they used to call them playoff games, right? Like, this is like a
Oh
playoff
yeah,
game, right? Have you
for
had any
sure.
of those? Like,
For
have you
sure.
I had
For
some.
sure.
okay.
Hey, Dave.
So,
Dave's here.
I just listened to you go on. I'm guessing you're talking about the Leafs.
sure.
Oh yeah.
What else
I
is new?
just want
Well,
to get it.
the Carolina Hurricanes was a decent type playoff game, and like that's the thing, right? Like it's if Leafs are a bad team, I don't think anyone would have like everyone would just be down on them, and that would be the end of it. But the problem with the Leafs is they are capable of so much, and it's just like you're right there, guy. Like just grab a hold of it and
Yeah,
take it.
the effort
But they
level
won't.
needs it's the effort
Yeah,
level too, right? Like
yeah, they
that you
won't do
see.
it.
Yeah.
They just won't. Like, how do you? I don't know. Like, as how many times it's happened? Like, you just literally just not show up. Like, I was having this conversation with my wife. The thing that drove me crazy is like the Leaf thing is you lose to the Montreal Canadiens, right, in the playoffs. Your first game of the next year, it's against Montreal, right? Opening night. of the season at home in Toronto, you would think, like as a player, we didn't play in the NHL, but we played sports at a pretty high level. As just a person, a human being, wouldn't you want to go through a wall to make sure those guys lost? Like just to prove a point?
Yeah.
Like these guys embarrassed us. This guy's knocked us out. They didn't even show up. They didn't even play. Like how? How does that happen? Like to me,
Well,
that's the thing that
it's
drives me
Some of it is
crazy.
leadership. Some of it is
Yeah,
leadership.
bingo, right there. It's all about that. Your core guys, like, what are you doing?
well,
Like,
modern
how do you?
modern athletes are not they're not all the way they used to be. There is a little bit of a change in what I've seen in the modern athlete, and there are still some teams like Boston, for example, that don't abide
Exactly.
they don't abide by that. They're
You
gonna
tell
be
me Bergeron and those guys, they don't get up for like when they
oh they
play
do
someone
yeah
that beat them.
they do
Oh yeah, they're foaming at the mouth.
yeah they
Like
do
that's what type
for
of
sure.
guys you want, man. You don't want guys that, it's okay. We'll go home and play Fortnite.
Well, that's what
You
your
know, we'll
manage,
be
but
okay.
that's your management team's job to measure though. Like if you're the
For
GM,
sure.
y- those are games where if I was a GM, I'm walking into that dressing room before the game and I'm making it very clear that the expectations are to show up and play hard this game, right? Like I
Of
don't,
course.
and it's tough because you don't want to always pull that move, and you really shouldn't have to pull that move if you've got a good core. The core should know themselves. Shouldn't have to step into the dressing room, right? Anytime the GM goes into the dressing room, it's always a bad sign most of the time.
Mikey, I would be breaking everybody's stick. I'd go in that first period, that first intermission,
Yeah.
break everybody's stick, and say, if you don't want to play, stay in the dressing room. Anyone who's actually going to put in an effort, go out there. But if you're not going to play, stay here. Like seriously, just who cares? It's the first game of the season. You got to like set things in motion, how things are done. You got to like, you know how you always talk about this identity and culture and this and that.
Hmm.
That's important. You gotta like have this feeling that you're a real team and you will not just constantly fall on your face.
Isn't
You
that what
will
a
take
regular
pride in you.
team does, though? Isn't that when you play with friends? Maybe at this level it's different. When we played, it was you form friendships with each other, and
Of course.
not everybody is a great hockey player. You have some guys that are lesser, but you make it work and you still love
Hmm.
those guys. You love them for every second, right? Like, it's not like you only love a guy that's don't get me wrong, you want a guy that's great, but you know what I mean? You still love your teammates and you battle for your
100%.
teammates. I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but that's the way I was brought up watching hockey. So the expectation carries over today. I expect guys to battle for each other, fight for each other, like each other to a degree, and want to win with each other. They're not just yeah, whatever. I got my goals. I see a lot more of that. So
They're just too complacent.
Are
That's
we
the
talking?
problem.
Are we just? Are we looking at the Leafs only in
no,
this
no.
regard?
I mean, I think
Uh,
modern athletes in general, but I think the Leafs are a good case to
Well, the
discuss.
way
Yeah.
listen. Look, we're gonna go through this again, but this is the seventh year together. This core together. So when we talk about being a tight unit culture, there's one thing that's been constant is the core. It's up to them to get him over the hump. I'm not waiting for Ryan O'Reilly. I'm not waiting for a Yarn Croc. If we're waiting for
yep.
these guys, this core should not even be here. They should all be dealt.
Yep.
Okay, because it's the same thing has been this core five guys. It gets tiring. That's it. That's why it's a non-win year. This whole regular season's been, if like you guys were saying before, if they win a game, well, let's wait till April. If they lose, see, like you can't win. This is a non-win season. It's gonna dictate what happens in the playoffs. That's it.
Hmm.
I don't care if Marner scores 150 points. I don't care if Matthews scores 80 goals. It
Yeah,
means
we know.
nothing if they
We
go up
know.
first round, right?
We know. We
But that's
know.
what I mean. So part of it is in their brain too. That it's tough to get up for every game. Maybe I don't know. But then I look at Boston. Like, what the hell are they playing for? The reason why they're playing that hard is because it's been instilled to not let the foot off the gas. because they don't want to start turning it on again, turn it
Well,
off, turn it on.
I
They
think
want to keep.
they are looking ahead to say we win the division and we avoid a tougher first round matchup. That's what they're
What are
doing.
we talking about? Boston?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, but they're cool. I think they're 15 points ahead of Carolina in second place, right? Like I said, with
No,
Boston,
in their own I'm talking about their own division too. So they're looking at they went into the season, Dave, saying we're going to win this. We're going to win our division. And that was their objective. That's what I think.
They hold themselves accountable. Like their whole thing, their culture, their strength, it's them. It comes from their core. Those are the guys that push each other. It's not the
exactly.
coach, it's not the GM, it's not anything like that. Those leaders in the dressing room, they're the guys that say, this is the standard of being a Boston Bruin, and we will not accept anything less. And that's the thing that we need in Toronto.
Carlo, what did any of those guys, the core you're talking about, hold out for more money? Like they can always hold that over everybody. They say, look, we're here to fucking win. We're not here to make the top money in the league. That's not why they're there.
Don't bring
Okay?
that up again.
No, but
Because
it's true.
that's false.
But this, for me, this is not hindsight. This is what I've been preaching for the longest time. That how is it me? I come here playing for $1 million. I gotta sacrifice my body, and I see these guys making 11, 12 million. Looks like they don't care sometimes. How does that look? It's just the optics are not good, and that comes down to leadership. If your core guys are going through a wall to do whatever it takes, that trickles down all the way down to the fucking trainer. It trickles down to
Sure.
everybody. And that's
100%.
it. That's what a team is. I'm not saying doesn't mean Boston's going to win the cup. They can go out first round. Anything can happen. But guess what? They're more prepared than anybody else right now, especially in their own division. They
You
are.
can see they're on a mission for sure. You can see it. It's something that, and again, back to the regular season, they decided they wanted to win the conference or they wanted to win their division. It's very evident that they wanted to avoid a tougher first round matchup. And when you see Toronto and Tampa in your division, this is who you would play in the first round. And if you beat them, then you're going to have to play the other one in the second round, most likely, unless Toronto ends up losing. But that's you can tell that's what their mission was this year. So
Oh, exactly. But now we're at the point where they don't even need to play hard anymore. They've clinched everything, but yet they are not letting up
yeah,
because they don't
Yeah.
want they don't want to get into that mindset where they can take the foot off the gas and suddenly you got to turn it on again. Sometimes you don't turn it on again.
yeah, they got to
Well,
gel
that's
too.
the
It
biggest
happens.
fear. What happens a week before they
Mhm.
start losing, and that leads right into the playoffs because there's a very good chance. Like
Yep.
we kept saying all year, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. And they kept going. They haven't stopped. It's like it's impossible for them to keep at this pace.
Well, one of
But
two things are going to
I don't know.
happen. If they go all the way and win, they're going to say this is what you got to do. Don't let up. And if they do lose somehow in the first round or even the second round, they're going to say maybe they burnt out. So that we're going to see what happens in the end. We can guess, but I'm telling you one thing. I'm not going against them. No way, man. Not
Yeah.
against Jason. I'm not going against Jason Voorhees. No way.
Like you would need a real good matchup. Like you'd want a team coming in hot. Like you know how like remember when LA Kings came into the playoffs a couple years back when they won the Stanley Cup? They were like 14 of 15 wins going into the playoffs and they were just like young guys on fire and hungry.
It might be
If
Florida. It could be Florida.
but that's what I mean. Like a team maybe like Florida, like Islanders, I can't really see them going on that crazy of a run. But I still think they will give Boston, they'll give them a hard time. But Florida, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I'll
We'll see.
tell you one team who won't is Pittsburgh. Sorry, I had to say it.
They're going nowhere.
What's going on
They
with
beat
Pittsburgh?
Colorado.
Sure.
They had a good
Giancarlo,
game.
that's it, Giancarlo. That's all you have to say. That's it.
I mean, great. They beat Colorado. Crosby showed up to that game because it was against McKinnon, and they have bragging rights. Probably, and he probably got the boys riled up for it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really care that they beat Colorado, to be honest with you, because the season's a waste of time. The season's done. Like make or don't make the playoffs, they're not going anywhere. They can't save the puck. Actually, I'll be honest. Jari is out
Oh,
with an upper body injury, so maybe there is a chance. But I mean, DeSmith is a backup goalie. He's only going to win you so many games. Like this team's not going anywhere.
Did you say Jari's out with an injury?
Yeah, with an upper body injury, but he's day to day, so I'm sure he'll be back just in time or whenever he decides it's time to come back. But this all goes back to the same problem. Jari's always hurt near playoff time. You can't rely on this guy, whether it's injuries or the fact that he can't stop beach balls, like whatever you want to take it as. Goaltending needed to be addressed, and it didn't get addressed because
Yeah.
the GM wanted his first round pick so badly. I don't know. This team has no direction right now. They're just playing hockey and going day by day. The fans are actually. This is the most angry I've seen the fans in a long time. A lot of people are not happy with this team, and ever since Fenway took over ownership, I don't know what's gone on with this team. They haven't been the same from a management point of view. So,
They could have got Quick for nothing. Nothing. Like
but this is what I
Columbus
mean.
was offering them for like some peanut butter sandwich and some milk, and
Well,
they were retaining salary too.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I know
oh
he's at
well.
like 1.5 million for Vegas right now, or something like that, just under 2 million. Like
Yeah, and he's played
that's
well.
crazy. Well, he's capable, right? Like he's a capable goalie. He's just old, but
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
know.
well.
I
It
don't know.
almost seems like being a GM is so much harder than it is. Like I don't know. It
Well,
seems so obvious
you have
sometimes.
to have it may be obvious, but we are ones that are talking about having a plan and trying to execute that plan. I don't really see much of a plan for Pittsburgh. It would
Yeah, what's
I,
Hextall's plan though?
that's
He
what I
has
mean.
no plan.
Well, okay. We talked about this a little earlier this year. You have an older core. You have Crosby. You have Malkin. You have Letang. You still have a guy like Gensel. So if you're in win now mode, okay, you're in win now mode. So you're going to need to sacrifice a little bit. Like we talked about on the chat earlier this week, I don't see their defense being strong enough. And I know you were saying that you think their top six is great. I don't really consider Jason Zucker a top six player. I think he's more of a product of who he's playing with. Like, who does Zucker play with?
Malkin.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I'm not saying they're useless players. Like I would put
So
Josh
you would say
Anderson.
that
Josh Anderson would be
Zucker.
a guy that would duplicate those numbers playing with Malkin. That's what I'm saying.
So you're telling me Zucker isn't a top six forward on any other
I
team in the
I
NHL?
don't I don't I wouldn't if I'm a GM. No, I would not rely on him being a top six forward. That's just me. That's
Hmm.
my philosophy. Every
Is
GM's
Zucker
different.
a left winger or right
Yeah,
winger?
left winger.
Oh, he'd be top six on the Leafs. That's for sure.
Well,
I think he'd be
making
top
five
six
and
on
a
a lot of
half,
teams.
making a 5.5, Tommaso, I don't think so. So that's what
Oh,
I'm
we have a
saying.
$3.5 million Kerfoot who hasn't scored since 1963,
Yeah, but that
and
guy's not.
he's
Yeah, but that
he's
guy's
on
not a
number
top.
five.
That guy's not a top six forward either.
Well, that's
So
what I'm saying. Like, it's not much of a. You don't have to beat out much to be on our top six left wing,
right,
right?
right. Well, and that's another issue. That's a whole other debate. But all I'm saying is that that's my philosophy. It really depends on what you expect from your first line, your second line. I just want scoring from my first two lines, and I know that he's having a good year, but is that because of him or is it because of who he's playing with? And I just think
I
that
mean,
it's mostly because of who he's playing with. Looking at his
whether it's
career
who he's,
stats, dude, I don't see anything from this guy. He's like a he's
I'm
like a
with you,
40
Mike.
he's like a 40 point man. Like his whole
I'm with
career.
you.
he's a 2020 guy. He's an energy guy.
That's
He's not the
fine.
kind of he's not the
He's not
kind
a
of guy
top
that
six guy though. But yeah.
yeah,
Nothing
he
wrong
is a
with.
top six because he can keep up with the guys. That's the other thing too, is you can't just throw anyone on the top six. You
Well,
need
Yeah,
guys who can actually play with top six players. So Zucker's that
exactly.
guy.
He's right.
yeah.
He's the guy who's going to finish every single check. He's the guy who's going to forecheck. He's the guy who's going to get the puck to the year start. So and then
Would you
he's got a
compare him
reliable
would you
shot.
compare him to a Gallagher?
No, I think he's way better than a Gallagher.
How so? Like I'm just saying, looking at Gallagher's career stats, he was 30 goal man multiple times. Like
He didn't play with a Malkin or Sid.
exactly. So I don't consider
I mean,
Gallagher a top six player, and that's the problem. You ended up paying him as one. and now they're stuck with him. I'm just saying, be careful. That's all I'm saying. If I'm the GM,
Well,
there's no way I extend this guy.
I don't
No
want to
chance.
re-sign Zucker. To me, you walk away from Zucker at the end of the offseason. It sucks because we actually ended up giving away a top pairing defenseman for him in Callan Anderson. But I mean, at the end of the day, we had him for 4 years now, I'm pretty sure, and this is the only year he's been healthy, and he's been fantastic this year. But especially with the health problems in the past, I stay as far away
I
from
see.
this guy as possible.
So you're just happy that he's playing well this year. You consider him a top 6 because he's playing well this year. But longer term, you're going to walk away from him at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, I have zero interest. Past this year, I have zero interest in having him on the team. But this year, he showed up to play, and he's been our best player some nights. Like
I got you.
he's been really good this year. But this is what I mean. Like the top 6 it hasn't been a problem all year. The top 6 is fine. It's the bottom 6. It's goaltending. It's the injuries on defense have just been insane. But I mean that's a lot of teams, right? Like you got to get through those games. So I don't put it on defense too much, but I don't know. It's just been one of those years, and I just don't think Hextall did anything to improve this team. And I don't know what they're going to do in the off season, but they're in win now mode. It's win until the big guys retire, and then we're gonna suck.
If you're in win now mode, why didn't you trade for anything?
Yeah.
Well, they did trade. They did. They traded. They offloaded some bad contracts and freed up tons of cap space to go and grab Mikkel Granlund at $5 million a year.
I get it, but
I just don't get it.
Win now mode means you're addressing your weakness, your goaltending.
Granlund's not horrible, but
he's not.
is he
but
not?
he's
He's
not
not what they needed. He's not what they needed. Right?
Exactly. He's not what they
Granlund
needed.
addressed the bottom 6, which was what we needed. We did need to address our bottom 6 drastically because it was awful. So he did help that, but you don't go get a $5 million player to address your top 6 or bottom 6. Like that's just crazy to me. Like you could probably get 2 guys that can do what Granlund does for cheaper. Like look what Toronto did. They went and got Lafferty and Achari. To me, I would take those guys over Granlund any day of the week. Any day. Maybe Granlund's got a lot more upside to him, but he's at $5 million. Those guys are at like league minimum. It's just it doesn't make sense.
I won't disagree with you. I'm surprised with
there was
the
things
makeup
available.
of this team. That's why I say Tommaso used the word identity earlier. I'm going to go back to this. When you guys think of Pittsburgh, what do you think of? Like, I don't want you to answer, Giancarlo. I want because
no, but I was just
gonna
say part of the problem with this team is in management is I'm starting to wonder if there's just too many hands in the cookie jar, because you have Burke who has a big personality, then you have Hextall who thinks he has his big personality. Sullivan's been there forever. You know, he's got a say in who they're acquiring, who they're trading for, whatever. Crosby, I'm sure, is adding his 2 cents. He better be. But then you have this whole Fenway group. I don't know what kind of role they're playing, but maybe they're involved too. And maybe there's just too many hands going around and too many experts. And that might be part of the problem too. And they're trying to trade for players, but they can't agree on the same player, right?
This
So they make
summer,
a desperation
there comes a change will happen. There'll be a cleaning of a house. You know, like there'll be some changes. Hextall will probably get fired, and then they'll hire Dubas. I think that's where Dubas is going to end up.
With Burke?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if Burke might not even survive. But I think that's where Dubas will land in Pittsburgh, because Fenway is like modern thinking, analytical.
Oh boy.
And completely different than what Burke wants.
Boy.
Like, look at this team. Does this scream Brian Burke? Like, does this team scream like Brian Burke identity?
No, it doesn't. Nope.
It has nothing to do with Burke. Burke is not building this team, my friend.
I was excited when Burke came in, but I don't think that Burke did absolutely anything.
No,
I don't think he has a say. I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't talk.
If you guys, okay, so if we were making our own structure on a team, if you were the president of a team, what would you do? Because every team is different. But if you were the president, what would you expect your role to be? If you're the president of a team, what would you want your role to look like? Have you ever thought about that at all, or?
No, because it's confusing, because you have the president and then you have the general manager, and so often you don't know who's making the final decision or what whose job is, because sometimes you don't even have to. You just have the one position and he's working both. That's usually interim.
Well, that's different. If he's working both, then that's that same person.
But I guess like what I'm saying is I really don't know the major difference between the two because every team is different.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, you're right.
you have teams like Vancouver where Buddy there doesn't even talk, like he doesn't do anything,
Right, right.
Yeah.
and the president does everything.
But my
The
question to you
president
would
is
be
more of
how.
the
Go
boardroom
ahead.
style, right? And then the general manager is more of the hockey decisions. But still, at the end of the day, the president has the final say on any decision, right? Like he's like, well, that's also weird because then there's also
Yeah,
in charge of hockey ops. Like you'll see that title, right?
director
Like
of hockey
people,
ops.
well,
Hockey
they'll
ops,
have
right?
these people that say hockey operations. Like that person will be in charge of hockey operations. Like Shanahan, I think his title is governor, if I'm not mistaken. It's like it all depends. Giancarlo hit it on right on the money. Every team's different. Like
Yeah,
it depends
but that's what my
what
question
what
was. What would you want it to be? I'm not saying every team's different. I'm saying if you were president, what would you want your role to be?
well, you're the cabroni, you're the guy, you're the man who runs this. Everything goes under you. You have a general manager that does the day to day, right? Like he does the heavy lifting. He'll go inquire about trades. He'll go
Hmm.
do like the player personnels. But your identity is what this team is formed around.
Yeah,
Like you're the guy who's instituting the culture, the identity,
bang
the
on.
the way this team is going to be,
Yeah,
right?
bang on. I couldn't agree more. When you're at the top, when you're the president, that's the way I would want my role to be. I would say
Of course.
I want my team to be a very physical hockey team. I want my team to be very combative, no quit, with enough talent. So, in other words, I'm giving you the high level of what I want my team to be, and my GM needs to be aligned with me. Period. I would not hire. I'm
Mhm.
hiring the GM. Did Burke hire Hextall? Yes or no, Giancarlo?
I'm 90% sure that he did.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
So, well, we can Google it, but I guess my point is, if I'm the president and I'm hiring a GM, you got to be on the same page with me. Period. This is what I want. This is what I want my team to be. And I want every deal to fit part of the philosophy of what our team is, what our makeup is, right? Anytime you see those teams that are like, look at Boston, top to bottom, you know what they're made of. You know exactly what they're all about. There's no question of what they are and how they're built, right? So,
It's tough, but I mean, like hearing these opinions, like I walk at the end of the season, I walk into the room as and fire both Burke and Hexall, if that's true, because
I see it happening.
I do
I think they
too.
will.
If this team does not make the playoffs, like once they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, that they both get fired instantly. There's no way that they get to keep their jobs. Like you're breaking a 17-year record, highest in the league right now, and you just ruined a career or a year of Sidney Crosby's career. Like you
Yeah.
guys are done. You guys are
But
done.
I think it also goes back to what Dave was saying earlier, right? Like you can't be in win now mode, but then you half ass it, right?
Yeah,
Like I refuse to give up my first round pick, but I'm
no,
in a win now
no,
mode.
that's
it's
bullshit.
Like
ridiculous.
No,
It's
make that
ridiculous.
make sense to me, please,
no, it
because
It
doesn't.
that
doesn't.
doesn't.
It
You
doesn't.
No,
know, like it's the same thing what the Leafs did with Sandin. They traded away Sandin. They got a first round pick, and then they didn't use it. Like that to me doesn't make any sense, right?
it was a
Like what
waste
are
of
you
time for them. Yeah.
replenishing picks for? You got to win now. Go out and use that to better your team. And in Pittsburgh situation, it's the same thing. What do you is that first round pick going to do for you? That's going to help you in 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Crosby won't be here in 4 or 5
See you
years from
later.
No,
now.
Yeah.
and that's what I'm always preaching is that I'm fine with the direction that this is what I actually wanted them to do. I'm fine with sucking in the future, but for these next 2 to 3 years, we need to be able to compete every single year for Crosby and for Malkin and for Letang because these guys stuck around, and until they can't play anymore, that's when we're done. But until then, I expect to make the playoffs every year. I expect them to at least try. If they don't go all the way, that's fine. But I've already won 3 times. I'm more than happy. But you just, I don't know. I just don't get it, and that's why I think maybe there's just too many hands in the cookie jar. I don't know what the heck it is, but I'd fire them all, and including Fenway.
No,
I'd wish that somebody could buy it off them because I'm not a fan of
nice.
them. But
Giancarlo, the only problem I see in this is I understand what you're saying out of respect for those players, what they've done for you, but you got to look at and give like an honest assessment of the team, and you're gonna go for it, right? But the problem is the past 8 years you've been using up all your prospects, all your picks to get constant winning, right? Constant, and it's worked for the most part. But now your system's bare. You got nothing much coming up. Like, how are you supposed to contend for a cup with this team realistically? Like, unless you get some like real gold mine home runs in the off season, right? Like, you get like a guy that comes out at a really low contract and he plays out of his mind, where you get a goaltender like, I don't know, like Talbot or Gibson or something, and he just rejuvenates his career in Pittsburgh. How do you realistically see this team getting to the caliber of hockey that it needs to beat the current contenders? Because, like, I'll be honest with you, I can't see it. Like, I can't see Pittsburgh coming anywhere close. There's a huge drop off from like the top 3-4 teams from the rest. And I can't see them making that ground up, right?
I mean, maybe it's a combination of just me watching this team a lot and being biased, but if they had made the changes that I wanted to see, they would be able to compete with those teams. They're not the type of team that's going to go after the President's Trophy, and I don't want them to be, because these teams like Boston that are killing it 82 games a year, come playoff time, they're going to be gassed. And I hope, because I can't stand Boston, that they're as gassed as possible and they're knocked out quick. But Pittsburgh isn't playing like that. They need to just get into the playoffs, and then when you have to go against a guy like Crosby in the playoffs, I mean, good luck. It's not going to be fun. But you got to build around him, because it's not basketball. Crosby cannot be doing everything. Malkin can't do everything. It's not a two-man show. You need a team. So unless they address the problems in the offseason, then I don't know what I don't know what they're going to do, because they're not going to. If they go into the offseason and don't improve the problems, next season is going to be worse than this season, because this season we were healthy with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang for the most part. Letang so, but Crosby and Malkin have been healthy. They're playing they're playing fantastic hockey. Like, it just, I don't know.
I'm gonna go
We'll
back
have
to
to
this
see.
Dubas thing. Do we really think it? So, Giancarlo, would you welcome Dubas in this situation?
So, I mean, I love what Dubas did this year. I think that he built, especially at the trade deadline, he was active. I think he did a great job. Whether it was all him or Shanahan was assisting, I don't know, but I think he did a good enough job that I would welcome him in Pittsburgh, especially considering that means that he's taking Hextall's job. Because I would take somebody off the street to replace Hextall. But I would welcome Dubas, no problem. I think that he's a young GM, and there's room for improvement. And I think that maybe in Pittsburgh it would work out even better than it's worked out in Toronto. I mean, it's tough to say, but I don't like his soft mentality, not bringing in tough players. But I don't know. He kind of proved that he's backtracking a bit by who he brought in this year. So I would welcome him. I would. And
Yeah,
I've heard the same rumors that they're targeting him, and I think they're licking their lips, hoping that the Leafs don't re-sign him. But
I guess it remains to be seen whether or not he actually learned his lesson and his philosophy. Dave, what do you think? Do you think he learned his lesson, or do you think that this was just an anomaly or a mirage?
It's hard to say because we've always thought, what the hell is Shanahan doing? He's got to have this. Isn't he's won a cup? We've always said, why is he allowing this type of team to be on the ice where there's no pushback at all? They keep getting pushed around, and now we see that this 180 happen. Maybe I think it was too much at once, in my opinion. But if that's the new philosophy, how do you not resign this guy? Because listen, I think deep down, I think they're going to beat Tampa, and he will get a new contract. So I don't see him going anywhere.
So you don't think he's going to go to Pittsburgh, like the rumors have
No,
suggested?
I think they're going to resign him. That's my opinion. Because really, what else could a GM do? I think what it's going to come down to, he's going to say, look, You tried it with this core. You got to break up this core. If they don't get past the first round, or if they do get past the first round, and they get pushed around by Boston, let's say, and they get wiped out in 5. You got to split up this core. It's the core. It's no longer the GM. It's no longer the bottom 6. It's no longer the defense. The goaltending is it's in the top 10. The goaltending. I don't know. You can't have all stars at every position. So to me,
Yeah,
it's
but
the
I
core.
disagree with that though. Like the core has been the issue from day one, and the job of the GM is to assess and evaluate and
Yeah, I
put the
get it.
people
But sometimes,
on the ice,
but
right?
sometimes you got to be careful because look, sometimes it takes a core a few years to go, right? And they've had some bad luck, we'll say. I still blame the core overall. They could have changed one guy at least. But the only guy you could really change is Nylander. Tavares can't go anywhere. How do you trade Marner or
Riley.
Matthews? It's
They could have
tough,
traded
right?
Riley.
Well, Riley's not going anywhere anymore. No one's taking that
He
contract.
was
But
tradable.
Well, he's
he was.
no trade
But when he
clause.
was scoring 20 goals a year, how do you trade your number one D man, right? To me, it was always
Yeah.
Nylander. He was the guy that could have got you back a nice, at least a solid top pairing defenseman. But that ship has sailed now. I don't know. Like I said, to me, I would keep Dubas. He's done everything you can ask a GM to do right now for this season. It's up to the players. But going back, it's up to the core. They got to push through. Can't rely on fucking Achari and Lafferty to get you over the hump. That's pretty
I
sad.
just don't get
Yep.
this. I understand the Dubas praise at the deadline because they made some good moves, but overall, I just don't agree with this guy. And that's why I asked, and it really comes down to the philosophy. Do we think that he learned his lesson? Do we think that he's changed? Do we think that he's no longer a spreadsheet guy and an analytics guy? I think analytics will always play a significant role in his decision making, which is fine. I don't think that that's a bad thing, but I think that there are some things that you cannot capture on a spreadsheet that you do have to take into account, and he
Sure.
didn't. So, but all the other things, I guess it would come down to how we would evaluate a GM and all the different things that you look at, and it's acquisitions or drafting or developing or all those things, right? Um, how he handles his coach, that type of stuff. So I don't know. A lot of the stuff that he's done hasn't impressed me. He inherited a monster team with regards to how much talent he had on it. He ended up signing Tavares, but we know Tavares wanted to come home, so I don't think he had a lot to do with that. Sure, he gets credit for getting it done, so I'll give him
He
credit
had
for that one.
zero to do with that.
It had nothing to do with that.
Well,
Zero.
Nothing.
okay, so there you go. You
I
guys
could
are
have been the GM and he would have signed.
there. You go.
My 7-year-old son could have been the GM.
Right,
He would
right.
have signed in
So
Toronto.
there you go. I was being nice to him, giving him credit because at least he was the one who faxed over the piece of paper or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but otherwise, I don't see what he's done until this deadline. And this deadline, he made some good moves, but we've talked about this before. It's not hard to mortgage your future a little bit, and that's really what he did. Right? He gave up the draft picks, but that's I think what Giancarlo was saying. He wanted Pittsburgh to do. He's saying
Exactly.
the time to win is now, and I'm okay with what Dubas did because that's what he should have been doing all along. Like all along, he should have been trading these
I
picks.
mean, he
That's what we're
kept
screaming
Nyes.
for.
To me, Nyes was the most precious possession from Toronto this year, way more than their first round pick because they're expected to go on a deep run. That's going to be a late first round pick. Nyes, if he got drafted tomorrow, like he's a top 10 pick. Like he's just, and he managed to keep him while improving the team. Like that to me also needs to be considered because he did well. He
No,
definitely
but
deserved credit there.
not really though. Like look at New Jersey Devils. They didn't give away their top prospect for that huge
Timo
trade.
Meyer, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do it. Like no one traded away their top prospects. Nobody.
No, but the
So
credit still got to be there. He didn't do it. In the past, maybe he would have done something like that, whereas this time he didn't do it. Like, I don't know. I know nobody really gave up big prospects, and I think that
no,
was a
nothing.
big surprise. But I mean, he did the trades before those ones went down, right? Like the one with O'Reilly, I think that was the biggest one. That's where
Yep.
you kind of would have expected Nice to go one way, and it didn't happen. So I mean, he's still, I don't know, credit where it's deserved. He gave up picks, but picks are picks. When you have a good prospect like that, you hang on to them, especially because he's top 6 capable and he's going to be NHL ready soon. So I don't know. I think Dubas did a really good job this trade deadline.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you guys talked about being the president, having a vision, and all that. So, if he loves what Dubas has done and he can vouch for him, I don't think anyone would be upset if Dubas is extended. I wouldn't be. I don't know if you guys would be. Like, I don't know what else he can do. The thing that he's gonna have to do is break up this core.
Yeah.
So if they're out first round, do you still think he gets re-signed?
I would. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, I don't like that he is a lame duck GM. It just looks stupid. The optics are just bad. I would have signed him during the season once they were on a hot streak or something. Like, you do it at that time. Otherwise, you're saying, look, if you lose, you're out. That's what it looks like. If you lose first round, you're out. But that's what it comes across as.
There's zero chance, Dave. Zero. Like your finishing sentence explained everything you need to know. Because if they were going to bring him back, it's like they would have extended him. Like, this is the Leafs. They they grow money. It's not a big deal if they fire him like after like a bad defeat or something, and they don't care about that. It's right now for them. It's winning. Winning is everything now. They can't have another defeat. Doesn't matter it doesn't matter what they do. They can't bring him and Shanahan, sit him down at the podium, and talk to the fans again. Another first round
Okay.
loss.
Okay.
They
So
just
let's say.
can't.
Okay, but let's say they do let him walk. They wouldn't fire him. I think they have too much respect for what Dubas has built in terms of inside the organization, because there's a lot of things that a lot of teams now mirror the Leafs in terms of the way they develop and all that. It's true. They are one of the top developing teams in terms of just the way they're structured. But let's say you do fire him.
But you don't fire him. His
Oh,
contract's up,
sorry.
and he
Let's
just
say you
walks
let him
away.
walk. Okay, let's say you let him walk. That's what I meant to say. You have 1 month or so to negotiate with Matthews before he can say, fuck it, I'm just going to ride out the year. Same thing with Marner. His no trade clause kicks in. Same with Nylander. It's a mess then. You created an even worse mess.
Do you really
Yeah.
think that they don't have anyone there? They have 4
But
assistant general managers. They got Brendan
I don't
Shanahan.
know.
They got Prindum. They got
He's
more guys.
he's a cap specialist. He's not a
No, no,
manager.
no,
Come
no,
on.
no, no. Pridham is
Come on.
going to be one of the top, I'm telling you, top general manager prospects in the league in the next 3 to 5 years. Right
We'll
now,
see.
he doesn't get enough credit for what he does.
He
What
does
does he
do a lot.
do?
I think he helped create the cap, didn't
What
he?
does he do?
So,
Yeah, he's huge. And a guy like him in a cap world, he's going to be like very soon. People will start recognizing, and he'll be a general manager in this league. I guarantee you. But I think Matthews, I'm not worried about Matthews. I think if Matthews is going to sign, Dupe is leaving or staying is not going to make
how do you know?
make a
We don't
difference.
know that, man. We don't know.
I don't see it. Like,
Yeah, but
why would you're
Dave's
going to leave
kinda
because
right,
of a
though.
general manager?
No, but Dave's right. Like you're not really giving the new general manager enough time to start negotiating with Matthews, and then you just once again Matthews is in the driver's seat, and it's just I don't know. It's kind of messy.
You go into next year and suddenly the Leafs are struggling, let's say, and you're hoping that Matthews would say, well, this team is going downhill. I'm out of here, and you're going to get nothing for me. It just
Why would you get nothing for him?
If
why
he
is
walks,
it
you're
UFA?
saying.
Like, look what Bor Horvat got, and that's Bor Horvat.
But
Like, you
okay,
tell
but
me Austin Matthews, 60 goal
He's got a no
scorer,
trade
what
clause.
you
what
can
if
get
he
back
doesn't?
for him?
What if he doesn't waive his no trade? He's just going to
Yeah.
ride it out.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, Chicago taught us that no trade clause truly doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but what did they get? What did they get for Patrick Kane? Hello.
But that's different. Patrick
No,
Kane
I'm not
has like
talking
5
Patrick
goals
Kane.
this year.
I'm not talking Patrick Kane.
So
I'm
who?
talking about when they traded Fleury. Fleury had a no trade clause, and they just decided to trade him. Sorry, I'm talking Vegas. Vegas traded him to Chicago. Vegas taught us that the trade clause means nothing
What are you talking about?
because they
You can't trade a player
when
if he's got a
Vegas
no
when
trade
Vegas traded
Yeah, he's right.
Fleury to Chicago, he did
Yeah.
not waive his trade clause. He got a call in the elevator saying you've been traded to the Chicago Blackhawks, and he said he wasn't going to report, and he has a right to not report. But you can trade whoever you want. That no trade clause means absolutely nothing. It really does.
No, I can't agree with this. Sorry.
So it wasn't
But they
exactly
proved it.
like that. It was basically saying we have a deal in place with Chicago, and your choice is either you go there or you go nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
he
was
would-
basically what it is. I think a better example, Giancarlo, is the Ryan McDonough for Tampa. He has a full no trade clause, and Tampa basically said to him, "We gotta move you. This is the situation we're in. We don't have the cap space. We love you, but you gotta go." And like
But hang
that's
on, they never called him to say that. We're moving you to Chicago. You have no other choice. The deal's done. They literally traded him. He found out on social media. There was a whole article on it. He had no idea he was even traded.
There's no
He
way the
found out on social
NHLPA.
media.
There's
so
no way
I'm
the
not sure how
NHLPA
that
would.
exactly that works, but that's exactly what a no trade clause prevents.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to trade someone's rights unless you give authorization, right? That's exactly what a no trade is.
Yeah, I think that
You
there's
have to
fine lines
authorize
in
that
it.
trade, right?
No, but that trade proved to me that the no trade clause isn't what it's made to believe us to think it is. It's not.
No.
And even when it's the modified 10 team, it's giving the player more power. And like
For
I said,
sure.
the player can still reject reporting to that team. So that's where the no movement clause is. He can
True.
reject going and reporting to the team. But
Correct.
if he does that, he can't play. He can't stay where he is.
Yes, he
The
can.
trade happened.
What are you talking
No,
about?
no.
No.
Mike, he was traded to Chicago against his will.
I'm sorry, I can't
He
agree
was
with you.
traded against his will.
I'll
I
never
don't know
agree
what
with
you
you.
want me to do. Do
No,
the
there's
research.
not.
There was
I will
tons
do
of
the
articles.
research. There were tons of players that were traded that vetoed. Kadri was traded to Calgary and said no. Come on. There's lots of guys. There's lots of precedent that's been set.
I don't know if he was traded. I think Kadri was like
Yeah,
the deal was they asked him
the
to
deal was in
waive
place.
and
He asked him to
didn't.
waive, and he said
Yeah.
no. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Listen,
Right?
the trade happened. He was moved to Chicago against his will. He found out on social media, and he said, "I'm not reporting to Chicago." And then he ended up reporting and changing his mind. But he was contemplating retirement
I
at
don't
that
think
point.
he had a
He
no
did not
trade
want
at
to.
the. I don't think he had a no trade
He
at the
had a
time.
no trade clause. He had a no trade
Here,
clause.
let me double check.
How does a guy like that not have a no trade clause?
Okay, now you're speaking without you
Didn't.
don't
Maybe
you don't know
he
for
didn't.
sure.
Maybe Mike's right.
I don't
Maybe
think he
Mike's
did
right.
at the time, and I think what happened was he did not want to be traded, and he was threatening to retire. That, if I remember correctly, when he went to the Blackhawks, and then they had to convince him to play hockey because they're like, "Look, you're part of our team. We want you to play." And then he's like, "Okay, I'll play, fine." But he was going to retire at that point. He did not want to be traded. I think that's what it is. I'm double checking right now. You guys keep talking.
I'm
while I
looking
look.
right now. He had a no trade clause.
Fleury,
And he
however,
was
is
traded.
contemplating his future after his agent, Alan Walsh said three-time Stanley Cup winning goaltender was caught off guard by the trade, with sources telling ESPN that he found out via social media.
Brav. Didn't I just say that?
While Marc-Andre
Listen.
Fleury still hasn't heard from anyone from the Vegas Golden Knights, he apparently has been traded to Chicago.
So he
Alan said on Twitter.
he had a modified no trade clause. This is what he had. Modified.
The modified part of it was that he can submit a 10-team no trade list.
Right. And was Chicago,
And
on
Chicago
the
was
list?
on
Yes
the
or
trade.
no?
Chicago was not on it. Yeah.
Chicago was on the not trade list.
Not trade list.
Yes.
Hmm.
It's the opposite. So you see a lot of times that
So,
players can provide.
Okay, so
a
what
10
they
team.
so what they did is they went. So the Vegas Knights did something nasty, but
Mhm.
Fleury still had the final say. He did.
Yes. So
Vegas
he
Vegas
could
didn't
want
want to be
something
there anymore.
nasty.
I think he
It's
was
the
done
trade
with.
was official. The
They
trade
did-
was official.
They did something nasty because they went.
He
They
had
basically.
no say in the trade.
No. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that
But
at all.
he had no say in the trade. It was whether he wanted to report to Chicago or not. If he chose not to report to Chicago, then he cannot play in the NHL.
No. Come on. No. I'll never agree with this. No chance that this is true.
Look into it. How can a guy be traded and he doesn't even know he's traded, but he signed off on it? That makes absolutely no sense.
Because
the trade
what they
passed the
did
trade
what
call
they
for
did is
everything.
that Okay, you're reading Twitter rumors. These are official statements released
No,
by
I
the
read
Vegas.
legit.
No, I'm reading it right now. It says, with respect to this morning, rumors hit Twitter before I spoke to Marc-Andre Fleury. We had not, in fact, completed the trade call. That's what they're saying. So there you go. So it got out, but they did not make the trade call. So that's what social media is. So all of that stuff got out that the trade was being made, but they did not make the trade call because they had to talk to Fleury first. But all that stuff got out. And how does that stuff get out? It gets leaked out because Vegas is like, I want to get rid of this guy. I made a trade with a team. I made a trade with a team that was not on his no trade clause list. And that's what they did. That's why I say they did something nasty. They definitely leaked this. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Because then it was like Chicago had to convince him to come and play, and then he went to play. That's it. They got their way, right? So I wouldn't say it means nothing. But Giancarlo, the part that I will never agree with you on is that if Fleury said, no, I'm not going. He's not eligible to play for anybody. He's still a Vegas Golden Knight at that point in time. If they did not make the trade call, he is still a Golden Knight. And then they got to figure
True,
out a
but he
way
was
to deal
done.
with
He
him.
was done with them, Mike. He was done with Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. He was hinting at retirement, I think, at that point, right? So either way, that is what happened. I'm just saying, like it's so no trade clauses are binding agreements. Players can waive
Hmm.
them, yes, but the player still owns the rights. So we went on this tangent because Matthews has got a no trade clause that kicks in, and
They all do.
yeah, and he's gonna have to if they want to get something for him. When does it kick in? This summer, I think.
Yeah, July 1st. All of them. Nylander, him, and Marner.
Nylander too. Oh my goodness. All of
Hey,
them,
you
eh?
might as well get them all at the same time, right?
Hmm.
It's a mess, man. It's a mess. That's why they have to beat Tampa. That's it. You beat Tampa, everything moves on. If it doesn't, oof.
Attention sport card enthusiasts. Looking for a convenient and reliable way to expand your collection? Look no further than Fanatics Collectibles Canada. This online shop is your one-stop destination for all things card sports, from vintage to modern, from football to hockey to basketball and more. They even got some bench warmers. The selection is second to none, featuring rare and exclusive players from top players and teams. Whether you're a serious collector or you're just starting out, they will have something for you. And with their easy to use website and secure online checkout, you can browse and purchase cards from the comfort of your own home at any time, any day. So why wait? Visit the online shop today at www.fanaticcollectibles.com and start building the collection of your dreams. With their vast selection, unbeatable prices, and dedicated community, you're sure to have a winning experience every single time.
Tampa.
Anything's up.
Speaking of Tampa, man, they have now looked good. I don't know if I don't want to evaluate the regular season play all that much because I still picked them to win the cup, but they have not looked good at all.
I think they're just cruising right now. And I think Dave was the one who mentioned it about Boston earlier that once you take the foot off the pedal, it's hard to get back onto that pedal. Tampa's been there, done that, won cups, and made the final last year. They're not concerned. I have no
Maybe,
worry about it.
or there's
No.
another narrative, which I'm hoping, and maybe they've just played too much hockey
They're
and they're
done.
starting to get
Yeah.
a little bit burnt out.
Yeah,
Like
that's
maybe.
possible, but
I don't know. I hope so.
This regular season, the thing about this NHL system is there's too they want too much parity, and this whole you get a point for making overtime or going to overtime, and then you look at the standings with a month left in the playoffs, and you have like 6 teams that could still potentially make the playoffs. That's what the NHL wants. So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know, it's all gibberish. Like the regular season to me is absolutely nothing. That's why I wasn't worried about Pittsburgh for the longest time too, because I don't care about the regular season. I really don't. The President's Trophy, why would you want to win that? It doesn't mean anything. Oh, I had the most points in the regular season, but then I was eliminated in the first round.
Well,
Wow,
well,
what
what
an
it is
accomplishment!
it usually leads to something, right? Like if you have that good of a year, then basically you formed a team that worked and your players gelled together and you've really went out and done something. And you would hope that leads into the playoffs and that turns its success into playoffs, right? Like
most
that's usually how it
President's
works.
Trophy winners don't win the cup.
They
I
don't.
don't
That's
remember the
only.
stat
Colorado
on
do
it,
it?
but I know it's really
I think
bad.
Didn't
10 years
Colorado?
ago. No, I think 10
No.
years ago was the last time. Florida won last year.
Florida won the President's Trophy. Yeah, most of the
Yeah,
time
but
teams who
Colorado
win the
was up
President's
there,
Trophy don't win it.
right?
They were up there,
And-
yeah, no doubt. They had a great season and then they carried into the playoffs, and that does happen. But I'm just saying I don't care about the regular season. Like we guys were talking about the Leafs earlier too about the regular season. It doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs. None of this matters. None of it.
I
None of
wouldn't
this
say it
all
doesn't matter at all because I think
all
you
it
know
matters
what a
is
team
seeding.
is made of. You know what a team is made of when you see
Yeah,
them in the regular season
sure.
when they're firing, when all they're firing on all pistons or whatever. It's
So
you do
to go on
see
what
that
you
pedigree.
just said though,
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is licking their lips to what you just said because everybody's starting to doubt them, thinking that they might not be as good. And then the playoffs are going to start and they're going to be dynamite. So there's
You
a little bit of
hope,
reverse.
right? You hope.
I hope they
Because-
don't because I'm sick of seeing them
I'm-
winning. But
No, but that's what people keep saying. But like, is it? Like we've seen it
yeah.
before. The teams
be-
just run out of gas.
Yeah, but let's be fair.
It
Their
happens.
depth is not the same, guys. It's not the same team as 2 years ago and last year. They've gotten a little bit worse. They have.
sure that
Even
is.
so's
For sure.
Colorado. Well, so's Colorado, right? They've not improved.
I think on the
who
blue
they
line,
lost.
on the blue
who
line,
they lost?
McDonough was the bigger loss, I think.
Well, I'll tell you right
Platt,
now.
they lost
Name me
Platt.
a
Yeah, but they got
name me a
Hagel.
defenseman on Tampa that's not named Hedman or Slavkovsky.
You mean
Like name me another defenseman.
you mean Sergachev? Yeah.
Sergachev, sorry.
Cernak.
Name me another defenseman.
Yeah, they got Ian
Cernak.
Cole. Ian Cole.
Ian Cole's a winner.
Yeah.
How many
Chernak.
Stanley Cups does that guy have?
Chernak is there. Who am I
Chernak
missing?
he's really good. Actually. I
Bogosian
like
is still there,
Yeah.
but like
He's
Hurt,
they-
but he's also
they're-
hurt too.
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like their defense took a huge hit, and I don't know. I know what you guys are saying. Like they're going to be the same thing as the Leafs, right? Their big guys are the ones that are going to carry them, and their big guys are bigger than everyone else's. Vasilevsky, Point, Kucherov, Cicerelli, Stamkos. Like, come on. Like the day you doubt those guys, I don't know, man.
It's not doubting. I just think the Leafs have gotten better from last year. I'm just talking about
Yeah.
paper on
You're
paper.
looking on paper. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the naked eye, they've gotten better. Tampa has not gotten better. Doesn't mean that
They
Yeah,
got
but-
Tampa
Genot.
can't win.
They got Genot.
But we know paper
Okay, but
means
he hasn't
nothing.
really meshed in there yet either. He hasn't gotten to the point they thought he would yet. Maybe he hasn't found the right line mate. I don't know, but in my opinion, I think the Leafs are going to win that series, and I don't usually don't pick the Leafs.
Wow, this is huge.
Wow, there's a development.
I usually don't pick them, but
Dave, is
I
that
think-
you?
Guys, I
Did
think
someone
somebody's
steal his
hacking Dave right
Discord?
now.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I would say they're due at some point. They got to win. No,
Oh my god!
I've
Well,
been
like, you
picking them
gotta-
for a long
You
time.
gotta do a canvas right now. Breaking news: Dave says Leafs gonna win in Stanley Cup round. Like it's over, man.
But I think you guys. Okay, let's talk about how turning it off, or when a team wants to suddenly turn it on the playoffs, they know how to do it. How does a goalie not try as hard? You know, it's kind of different for a goalie, right? Like Vasilevsky's
Always
not.
different.
You'll see him-
Always
you'll
very
see him be a
different. There's no
little
such
bit
thing as
slower out
trying
there.
hard.
It's focused.
I think it's just
focused.
it's like
focused.
But that's what I
It's-
mean.
it's
It's like as a fourth, third liner, bottom six, and you don't go for that extra hit because you don't want to burn yourself out. As a goalie, what are you doing? You're not stretching far enough to make a save. Like, how are you doing that? Because he has not looked good this year.
I would say that you nailed it. You're not making that extra stretch. You're not
Yeah.
making those flashy saves
It's
because
tough. Yeah.
As a
It's hard to
goalie,
be
I
a
don't know,
goalie,
man.
man.
But as a
It's
goalie,
hard
you're a
to be a
You'll see
competitor.
him, Dave. You'll see him when he does this thing where he stands on his toes. You're gonna see him in this 7-game series where he stands on his toes and he stands so tall where it's almost like he's looking over the screen in front of him.
Over your shoulder. Yeah.
He's
I've seen that.
he's so focused, but he doesn't do it regular season. I watch him, and I'm like, well, he's not doing his thing. And
because he learned.
it's focused, right? It's when you're zoned in. When that's what it is. Those guys, they turn it on that way.
Yeah,
Where
that's fine. But he has not looked this bad in the regular season for me.
Yes, he
personally.
has. He has.
When,
And I'll
though?
tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why. 3 years ago, I invested in trading a boatload for him in a fantasy league, and he does the same garbage every single year to me. The last month, when it's playoff time for fantasy, he turns into this garbage goalie. He's really good all year until the last final stretch, and he screws me every year. So yes, he's this bad all the time around
This is
this
the
year.
final stretch. He's not looked good.
He's looked like
I
this
don't
for the
know, guys.
last month. His stat, in terms of his stats, he's fine. If you look at him stat wise, he's fine. It's just he turns off the last couple of months of the season. He does this every single year.
Yeah,
And then
but
playoff
guys,
time is dynamite.
you're forgetting a goalie is only as good as your defense as well. If
They've
your
gotten
team is
worse.
playing they're out to lunch and they're playing like how Dave was just saying, with a little bit less effort here, they're not blocking that shot that they would block in the playoffs, right? Like they're letting in quality chance after quality chance. Who do you think suffers the most? The goalie,
True.
right?
That's true. It's a
So
very good point. Yeah.
it all comes circle. It
So this
all
goes
works
back to what we're saying. Their defense is not as good as the past
for
couple of
sure,
years.
100%.
Their
But
defense still
that
get hit, but the rest of the team's still solid. I mean, I don't know.
Hagel grew a bit into the role. He replaced Palat. He's got 30 goals, man. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's
that's
played well.
awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome.
But this is the thing that you talk about with the Jeannot trade, right? Hagel played horrible last year, and even in the playoffs, he just didn't fit. And then it just took, a full training camp and a year to play with his teammates to finally find a spot on the team. And now it's all coming together for him. I think the same thing will happen with a guy like Jeannot. Like it's tough to just hop into another team and immediately mesh. Like that's so rare you see that happen.
A different role too, right? He's not going to be. You don't want him scoring 30 goals. I mean, sure, if he can, why not? But that's not his role out there. He's a bottom six forward who hits everything. I mean, I've only watched a couple games with him in Tampa, and I mean, I thought he looked okay. He didn't look great, but I agree. I think over time, he's going to really build into that role. So, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. They just haven't looked. They've looked a little mortal. I just called it out because I've been seeing them. I watched them play Montreal. Montreal beat them the other night, and I think they're losing again tonight. Am I right?
They are, yeah.
2-0 to Ottawa, I think.
Man,
They
no,
scored
2-1.
2-1.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just
Come on, they're facing Solgaard. What chance do they have?
Well, I wouldn't bet against them though. I think that they're too veteran of a team they know that they're already coasting. They probably have conceded home ice at this point, I guess.
But why
No,
would
they're
they?
still there. They're still there.
Yeah, they got
You know,
two games.
they can still catch
The Leafs
Leafs.
They could still catch.
Well,
them,
the
yeah.
Leafs have 2 games in hand on them, and they're 3 points ahead. Yeah, I guess theoretically they could still.
It could happen. It could happen.
I just think Tampa. I don't put much stock in home ice either myself. I think home ice is overrated. It is way overrated. You lose one game, the opening game of the series, which always happens, and home ice is out the window. So I always say this is going to be a war when you're in a 7-game series. So
I disagree with that. Home ice is huge, because especially with these Leafs that keep going to Game 7, like home ice.
But they've had home ice almost every game.
I rest my
used
case.
to believe in that too,
I rest my case.
But I don't think that home ice is what it used to be.
No, but okay, Game 7 against Tampa. Would you rather it be in Tampa or at home? Where
It doesn't matter.
Vasilevsky is literally unbeaten at home. His playoff record at home, I think he has one loss in 20 games or something stupid like that. So yeah, it definitely matters. 100% it matters.
I think that's all in your head, but I get what you're saying. That is the conventional way of looking at it.
I think it used to matter a lot before. It used to be huge. Back in the day, if you had home ice, it was massive. But
I think it's because the arenas. I think it has to do with the arenas too, right? Some arenas are just intimidating. Like the last intimidating arena was the Nassau where the Islanders played.
Yeah.
That swamp over that was crazy, that place.
I remember.
What's the difference? If you're a Leaf fan, you guys usually have more fans in the crowd than the home team anyway. So I don't see the difference.
I remember Gretzky making a quote from 1993. You guys ever hear that quote with Gretzky when he said about Game 7 having more pressure on the home team?
What do you say?
He basically just said Game 7 if you really think about it, there's a lot more pressure on the home team than the visiting team. So we
When
can.
did he say that? When he was on the road? He must have been on the road when he said that.
He did. Yeah, he did.
There you
It
go.
was
He's
no. It was
smart.
against the Leafs. It was against the Leafs.
That's
Yeah.
mind games. That's just mind games. He's
Well,
smart.
either way, yeah, mind games worked, right? So
It's true. It
yeah,
does. It does work.
it does.
He knows what he's doing.
When you doubt yourself, when you have those moments of whatever you want to call it,
For sure.
lack of confidence, those
Oh
make the
yeah.
difference in those tight moments, right?
Well, think about it. If Leafs have home ice advantage, right? Tampa scores early. It's
Yeah.
1-0.
Oh my God.
Now that stadium is going to be dead.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they're going to be like, here we go again.
But that's
and it's going to be completely quiet.
That's exactly why I say home ice doesn't mean as much.
But
When you're playing
that's
teams
not
like
why
this,
I think they don't have the advantage. The Tampa one, have you seen Tampa? They don't care. They just cheer and they go crazy regardless.
yeah,
They're
but
behind them no matter what.
what I'm saying is that sure, last change is a factor. Your coach is going to matter when your matchups are coming on, and that's a significant thing that you have to manage, especially when you're in a 7-game series. I just think that you got to go in and win those games. I don't care. You really can't think of it as, oh, we went up 2-0 at home, and you're gonna go on the road and play those 2 games on the road, and you're expected to. No way, man. Fight every one of those games. That's it. Fight every single one of those games. Home, road, it doesn't matter. You just fight. Be there to fight. The next round is starting. When I say round, I mean the next game. It's like a boxing match. You go in round one, that's game one. Round two is game two. And you got to go in every single round with that same mentality of forgetting the previous round. It's gone. The Leafs used to be amazing at that actually when they had Pat Quinn. I remember when they would lose to Ottawa like 8-1 or something in the playoffs. It was brutal. There was one game I think they lost like either 5 or 6-1. It wasn't as 8-1 maybe, but they lost badly. And Ottawa was a team that the Leafs used to dominate in the playoffs, and everyone was like, "Oh, Ottawa's gonna roll them this year." They got destroyed, and then Toronto would squeak out a 2-1 win, a 1-0 win the next game. Like it was like they had short memories. You really have to have that in the playoffs. And again, home road doesn't matter, man. Those are the best teams. The best teams win. Doesn't matter whether they're on home ice or not. But I get it. The mystique is there if they want the Vasilevsky thing, and they're gonna say, "Oh, he hasn't lost a game at home." That's all stats to scare
Oh,
the
and
crap,
then the
scare
mind
you.
games start too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. They try to scare you. That's the way they
I'll
do
wait
it.
till Cooper starts. Man, wait till he starts. Oh, boys, don't even watch.
Yeah,
Don't even watch.
you want
He just.
you want to stop
Ugh.
Vasilevsky? Just run him over. Throw a Chari into him. Yeah, we're gonna stop now. What are you gonna do?
Oops,
Oops. Yeah, exactly. Right. But that,
I didn't mean to hit him.
I'm half kidding. I know that you wouldn't do that, but you know what I mean.
Marchand would.
Boston's not gonna be gingerly skating around this guy. They're gonna go to the net hard. I guarantee it if they play.
Listen, the only way I'll believe the Leafs have a chance to win the cup is if they were to beat Boston. Not if they beat Tampa. They can beat Tampa. I still think they have no shot. It's beating Boston is
Oh, I
gonna
would
make
love to
people
see it.
believe.
I would love to
No,
see a
but I say,
Toronto Boston second round because Toronto would have some confidence. That would be one of the best series, man.
well, then
Yeah.
people are gonna say, well, are they over the hump now? They got the monkey off their back. Because to me, that's the series that will prove to me that this team is for real now. Because I think they could beat Tampa. I would not be surprised if they do beat Tampa. It's the Boston series. That's where they would have the most to prove. You can get by Boston. You can get by anybody. Your confidence grows even more.
That would be awesome.
I got a theory that I've come up with after doing a little bit of research,
Oh,
and the theory is the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
oh God.
And here's the reason why, and it's a legitimate reason, and it's definitely worked in the past.
They won on
They
your
have
PlayStation? Is that it? Is that what you did?
no, I did not do that. No, but they have not one, not two, but three Pittsburgh Penguins in their lineup.
Oh my god.
So
Reese?
they have the most in the league of Penguins, and it's going to really get them over the hump, and they're going to raise Lord Stanley this year for that reason.
Who is it? Reese,
Oh, yeah.
Murray, and who?
Lafferty.
Oh yeah, Lafferty. You got to get our hopes up even more, eh?
Well, this time you can get your hopes up
I
because
think
having
I think
three
tomorrow
Penguins on your team.
I think Tommaso fainted when you said this.
I think so too.
No.
I haven't heard him in a while.
No, I let you have your enjoyment. You're fun. It's all good.
But you
Hey,
don't
let me
believe
ask you,
it, or do
Tommaso.
you?
Well, I want to ask Tommaso, when would you believe this team has a shot? Because you and I are in the same
When
boat.
they
We
show
don't think
you.
this. No, but I'm
When
saying,
they
Yeah,
show
but
you.
what?
moment?
Yeah, but what would that be? What would that be when they show you? What would they show you?
It's not for me. It's not a beating Tampa or beating Boston. It's going into the playoffs and playing the right way. If they go into Tampa, like you don't understand, like you can ask my wife how many times I've literally turned off the TV within like 10 minutes of a game and be like, they're losing tonight. And they do. Because you could just see it, right? Like you could just see like how they're coming to play, how they if you come out
Mhm.
and you play like how they're capable of playing, they can beat anyone in this league. They are. They got that much talent. They should be able to beat anyone in this league, 100%. And if they do that, they play the way that they can, then why not?
Well, I don't know. I guess listen, for me, there's always there's a moment when you start believing. Like there's always a turning point in some playoff series or some game that suddenly a team turns it on. They start having. If you don't have a belief that you're going to win, you're not going to win. That's first off.
But
And
this is
these
the
guys have
Leafs we're
enough.
talking
But
about,
I know,
though.
but they have enough demons in them that it's part of half of it is mental that they can't get over this hump. And who knows what happens if they do get that first
I
round
love
win?
this. I
We
love
don't
hearing
know,
Dave
right?
say this. Dave,
No,
But
like if you're a Leafs fan, the last thing you want is hope, because as soon as they give you any hope, you know what's coming. As
you
soon as they
see,
beat
Yeah, but
Tampa, everyone's gonna
the
get
eyes
so
don't lie,
excited,
man.
oh,
and
stop.
then they're gonna lose Game 7 against
Stop,
Boston.
stop, Tommaso. You're part of the
That's what
problem.
will happen.
You're part of the problem.
Charlie fucking Brown. Okay, we've lived this fucking nightmare for so long.
The
Okay,
odds are against us, but like I said, if they were to get by Boston, they make me a true believer. It's not beating Tampa. Beating Tampa
sure.
is not gonna make me believe this team can win the cup. Beating Boston would.
Yeah, but Dave, you're beating the best team in the league, and you're
Well, that's
going
my
into the
point. But there
semifinals.
you
Like,
go. But
I
there
should
you go.
hope so.
But that's my
Yeah,
point.
but
If you
that
can
means
beat
nothing
them,
can
you can
stop
beat
you.
anybody.
Yeah, man, you're on a roll. You're like, yeah, come bring it.
Sure.
You can play anybody, man. No, you got to look at it that way.
Yeah,
Tomas.
if I look like Brad Pitt, I can date Megan Fox. Like,
Sure.
okay, sure. Why
Yeah.
not? You know, if we beat the best team in the league and we go into the semifinals, we could win the cup. Sure. Why not?
Yeah,
I know,
Like,
but you can. But if let's say you were to run into Boston in the semis, I still wouldn't believe. But beating Boston right now, it makes you grow. That's it. It makes
of
you believe.
course.
It's
But
huge.
I
It's a
get.
huge thing.
So that's my point. That's what's gonna make me believe. Is
Okay.
not beating Tampa. It's beating Boston. Because,
I think
like I
this
said,
team just needs to win one. Once they win one, I think they'll just like exhale and they'll be like, okay, fuck it. This
No,
is it.
no,
Like
that's
we finally stopped screwing up and we did what we were supposed to do. And then they play, right?
then
Like
Dubas
that's
for
it.
sure
Just
is
go and
coming
play.
back. 100% he's back.
Yeah. If Dubas gets a fucking statue if they beat Boston, okay? Never
No, I
mind the
get it.
cup. They're gonna change the name from
Yeah.
the Toronto to just call it Dubas. Like it's just like you have no idea what this city will do if this team actually won something. It would be crazy.
Well, you know what's sad is they win a round, they're gonna fucking have a parade downtown for one round. They're gonna party all
No.
night. You want to make a bet? There's gonna be Young Street gonna go nuts for that whole
Oh
night if
sure,
they win the
yeah.
first. That's what I mean. Like that's how desperate we are, and that should not be the goal. But we'll see.
I love
Yeah.
this. I love this optimism, though. To me, it's great to hear because I know that you guys have had a lot of struggles and things that have got you down over all the different series that you've lost. So it's nice to hear that you guys are optimistic about
I
going into
can't
this
do a
year.
7-year rebuild, and we still haven't won a playoff round. Like this is supposed to be the fun time, and
Yep.
it's the most pressure is right now.
I know.
You think
And
about
that's the
Montreal, where
disturbing
are
part, right?
well, think about Montreal right now have started their rebuild last year. I think this is their last rebuild year, and they're going to start going after UFAs or whatever they're going to do. They're going to try to start winning now
Yeah,
next year.
yeah, I agree
The
with that.
rebuild is over. So if you were to go 7 years and you still have not seen any results, that's frustrating to do a rebuild. What the hell's the point of a rebuild then?
No,
Yeah.
you would like to see that step, no doubt. But we've talked about this before. They've
To
had
me,
so many
and that's why
opportunities.
the moment to me, we're talking about the moment, was that Game 5 when they went into Boston 4 years ago and won. I thought, holy shit, this could be the team that's going to do it, or at least
Right.
they're going to take that next step, and they fucking failed Game 6, and then we just been expecting them to lose since
Do
then.
you remember the Fratton breakaway?
Oh,
do
you're
you
talking
remember
about
that?
10 years ago? No, you're talking about 10 years. I'm talking
The
about
break
4 years ago.
when they lost 4-1, right? Fratton had a breakaway,
He
and
did.
that goes in. It's over. He
Giancarlo,
doesn't.
it was over. Should have been over regardless whether he scored or
I-
not.
That's why, because we had James Reimer in that.
It wasn't just his fault, but
Yeah, the team collapsed. I remember that night.
What are you gonna
the
do?
team collapsed. But they're a better
They're
days
playing a
ahead.
playoff game tonight. I'm telling you right now, they're playing a playoff game tonight. The way that these two teams are going at each other, this is playoff hockey.
And how they playing?
Like, they're
Are they
playing really
winning?
well.
They're
They're winning.
Yeah.
I think
Murray's
O'Reilly's
standing
going
on
to
his
help.
head.
O'Reilly will help them in the dressing room. He'll be that voice that extra voice needed, because Tavares ain't going to say anything. We know that already.
Oh yeah.
You said you wanted a guy that's going to throw sticks and everything. It's gonna be a type like O'Reilly that's going to be the voice in there to get him going.
Dave, it's no coincidence the past 3 deadlines they've traded for a captain, right?
So
Like it's not a coincidence. There's a reason for that. Like they don't have enough leadership on this team, and maybe O'Reilly brings it out of them. They have all the pieces. Like honestly, they just the left wing. Like he does. Unfortunately, the 2 things like I asked for at the deadline, they didn't get. They didn't resolve the quarterback situation for the power play, and they didn't resolve the top, like a left winger for the top 6. Like just any type of improvement there. So now they're going to pray Nyes fills that up. So we'll
and
see.
relying on him is tough. It's just
Oh, yeah.
tough. It is. I'm not expecting much from him at all. I'd be
When
surprised
when
if he
does his
plays.
season end? When does his season end?
Maybe tonight. Tonight they play, and if they lose,
Wait, is it the
sign?
Final Four? Are they in the Final Four?
no, but it's win and continue. But if you lose, you're out. It's no coincidence today that the Leafs are playing better defensively with Riley out of the lineup. I'm just telling you now.
He's not playing tonight.
Nope,
Is he
he's
hurt?
benched.
He's benched, or is he
He's,
hurt?
he's a healthy scratch.
The fact their record's amazing without him. Somehow.
It is his son. Dave Snuggerud is his dad. Yep. That's him.
I guess he's an American kid, right?
6'2". Big boy.
He's drafted by St. Louis, right?
He is drafted by the St. Louis Blues. Very good. 23rd overall. Yeah,
He went 23rd.
That's what
Wow,
it
okay.
says. Yeah.
My wife was telling me that Matthews was interviewed about Nyes, and what they're going to do is do everything possible to make him comfortable and feel part of the team and this and this. And Matthews showing the leadership.
As another captain you're gonna have in the dressing room soon, because he's gonna have to be the next captain if he extends his
will.
contract. Enough of this
He will.
Tavares crap. Enough.
I wouldn't be surprised if they give him the captaincy, like
They should
to,
have by
man.
now. They
You
should
have
have.
on right, like in the summer.
Yeah, they
I
should
think
have.
you have to,
Tavares is
Mike,
still here.
Mike, I think you have to do it if he extends. You don't do it and then he leaves after.
Oh
a
yeah,
year,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. He has to extend. Yeah. for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's what should happen. Tavares, he should have a ceremony. He hands over the. That's it. They do it the right way. You don't strip the C off him. You have him hand it over, because he's not the. It's not his team going forward, right?